The WNBA is at a breaking point following the shocking suspension of A'ja Wilson, a decision that has sent shockwaves through the league. This wasn't just a routine disciplinary action, it was a direct response to a heated confrontation between Wilson and Caitlin Clark, one of the league's rising stars. But the real controversy behind this suspension runs much deeper, as the fallout stems from an explosive argument centered on race. Benching one of the WNBA's brightest stars comes at a time when the league is already balancing its surging popularity with increasing social tensions. Is this backlash a result of Clark's meteoric rise within the league, or is there a more complex issue at play? Many fans have their opinions, but one thing is certain: this wasn't just another on-court skirmish. Wilson's attack on Clark appeared deeply personal, fueled by animosity and resentment. The situation escalated when a comment from Wilson went viral, sparking widespread debate. It's not just about basketball anymore. Caitlin's privilege has paved her path, and it's frustrating to see, Wilson reportedly said, igniting a firestorm that turned a competitive rivalry into something far more contentious on the surface. It's easy to understand Wilson's frustration. She has dominated the league for years, yet this controversy has spiraled into a much larger conversation about race, privilege, and the evolving dynamics of the WNBA. For years, A'ja Wilson dominated the WNBA. Only to now watch Caitlin Clark eclipse the league in unprecedented ways. Clark's incredible talent has brought more attention to the WNBA than ever before, and that kind of spotlight can be difficult for any established player to accept. However, Wilson's response crossed a line no one expected. Social media quickly erupted, with one user tweeting, "A'ja Wilson, the daughter of a professional basketball player who attended private schools, can't recognize her own privilege," while pointing fingers at Clark. Hypocrisy much. Another went so far as to suggest a new hashtag #StopIHate, highlighting the absurdity of the situation. But things get even more complicated. Clark's fan base isn't what many assume. Contrary to popular belief, a large portion of her supporters are black men, defying the narrative that her success is solely backed by white fans. Clark's game transcends racial lines, earning respect from diverse audiences, yet Wilson seems blind to this reality, continuing to frame Clark's rise as a product of white privilege rather than her extraordinary skill. This perception, Wilson's deep-seated belief that Clark's ascent is tied to race rather than talent, was the spark that ignited the controversy. It led to the explosive confrontation, Wilson's suspension, and the outrage that has now rocked the WNBA to its core. The WNBA controversy has sparked a deeper conversation that goes beyond basketball, highlighting tensions that have been simmering beneath the surface. A'ja Wilson's frustration is evident. She feels it's no longer just about playing the game, but about ensuring that certain voices aren't silenced. She believes that players like Caitlin Clark, who have risen to stardom, are somehow stripping the joy and purity from the sport, particularly for black women who have long held their place in the league. But is this truly about systemic issues, or is Wilson's reaction more rooted in personal insecurities? It's clear she is struggling with Clark's rapid rise, an athlete who has redefined the sport and brought the WNBA unprecedented attention. Instead of embracing this new era, Wilson's resentment boiled over in ways that ultimately cost her, leading to a suspension that shocked fans and the league alike. In contrast, Clark's response to the racial tension swirling around her name was nothing short of graceful. "Everyone in this league deserves the same respect," she said, addressing the heated debate. "Using my name to push divisive agendas isn't right." Her message is simple: respect all players equally, regardless of background. Rather than fueling racial divisions, Clark remains focused on promoting the game and ensuring that every player gets the recognition they deserve. While Wilson's anger has widened the rift between players and fans, Clark's refusal to engage in the controversy highlights her maturity, resilience, and sportsmanship. Her focus remains on what truly matters: the growth of the game and unity within the league. What matters most is the game and the respect it deserves, and the WNBA's decision to suspend A'ja Wilson sends a strong message: no matter how big a star, unacceptable behavior won't be tolerated. Wilson's attempts to shift blame, whether to fans, the media, or even Caitlin Clark, mirror a familiar story in sports where some players, under immense pressure, lash out instead of taking accountability, but this time the league acted swiftly. There's another side to this story as well. For years, the WNBA struggled to capture the attention it deserved. Low ratings, minimal headlines, and a lack of public interest kept the league in the shadows. Now, Caitlin Clark has changed everything, bringing unprecedented excitement and passion to women's basketball. Yet, complaints about salary caps, lack of media coverage, and minimal exposure persist. Clark is the one player who has undeniably drawn the spotlight and propelled the league forward, so why are some trying to tear her down instead of embracing her success? The truth is, Clark's rise benefits everyone in the league, and rather than pointing fingers, players like Wilson should recognize the positive impact she's had. The WNBA is at a turning point, and the tension is palpable. Stephen A. Smith's criticism cuts deep. Now that you've got Caitlin Clark bringing in the headlines and attention the league has desperately needed, we're focusing on the wrong things. For years, the WNBA struggled to capture public interest, but Clark's emergence has changed everything. Instead of celebrating this newfound success, players like Wilson have let frustration take center stage. While race has been a focal point of the discussion, Wilson's resentment seems to stem just as much from the pressure of being overshadowed by a younger player who has quickly become the face of the league. The pressure to perform, coupled with Wilson's personal frustrations, boiled over and led to an incident that has now become a defining moment in WNBA history. In stark contrast, Caitlin Clark's response has been poised and measured. "Nobody in our league should face racism, hurtful comments, or threats," Clark said, emphasizing how damaging hateful remarks can be not just to players but to the league as a whole. While Wilson allowed her frustrations to manifest in division, Clark has remained focused on uplifting the league and pushing for progress instead of getting lost in negativity. The WNBA now finds itself in a precarious situation. On one hand, it is finally gaining mainstream traction, largely due to Clark's undeniable talent, but on the other, veteran players like Wilson feel marginalized, reacting in ways that risk undermining the league's progress. Wilson's physical altercation with Clark was not just an isolated incident. It was the culmination of deep-seated frustrations, which is why the league had to act, suspending Wilson and sending a clear message that such behavior will not be tolerated. Regardless of a player's status, this suspension marks a critical moment for the WNBA, serving as a reminder that personal grievances cannot overshadow the sport. The league must confront these internal conflicts head-on, ensuring that players like Wilson feel supported while keeping the focus on the game as the WNBA continues to grow. It must learn to balance rising stars like Clark with the veterans who paved the way, all while addressing the lingering issues that have held the league back for years. Clark's rise offers the WNBA a chance to step into a brighter future. But it is crucial that the league fosters an environment where talent is celebrated, not torn down by personal rivalries or racial tensions. Wilson's suspension marks a turning point, making it clear that the WNBA will not tolerate behavior that crosses the line, whether on or off the court. For Wilson, this is a hard lesson, one that will hopefully lead to reflection and growth. For Clark, this moment only strengthens her resolve, proving that her place in the WNBA is earned by talent, not defined by race. As the WNBA moves forward, players like Clark will set the standard for what it truly means to be a competitor both on and off the court.